How do celebrities react in a crisis? Well, if you're following the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit, I would recommend not reacting like Blake Lively. She is currently in a rebrand, and I'm going to break it down for you today on why it doesn't work and exactly what she's doing. And this is part of an arc that I have no doubt her team has mapped out from the beginning. So welcome back, and whether you have your own personal brand and you want to learn a little bit more about PR, or you're following the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama, you're going to enjoy this video. Now, if you have your own personal brand, I do have your 90-day PR playbook, which is a self-paced course. I'll put the link in the show notes because the reality is everybody needs PR and everybody needs to be prepared for worst case happening. But not just worst case happening. From day one, you want narrative control of your brand. So make sure if you're a personal brand and you haven't jumped in yet to grab your 90-day PR playbook. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes for you. But let's dive in. Now, if you have your own personal brand, hopefully you won't be able to relate to this level of crisis, and hopefully you will never need to respond to this level of crisis. But right now, Blake Lively is doing what I like to call, after 15 years of experience in branding, marketing, and PR, reputation laundering. Now, reputation laundering in PR was first used in about the 1990s, professionally and officially used, with a nod to, well, what you can probably imagine, the classic concept of money laundering. So this is when illegal profits are funneled through legitimate sources to clean them. Now, when we're looking at a celebrity or a public figure, corporation, that is reputation laundering, you're taking someone that's been through a controversy, someone that has press or stories about them in the media. They don't want that to be their image. They want to wash it. They're not necessarily a better person, but they want the public to believe they are. So number one, when a celebrity, in this case, Blake Lively, may reputation launder, allegedly, number one thing they're going to do is go to news outlets who they allow access to certain information or connections in the hope that news outlet is going to run what's called fluff pieces, like just positive, feel-good stories about them. Or you'll also see Blake, like we are going to get into today, show up at the Broadway Harry Potter and likely fed those stories to the media, I have no doubt about it, to put feel-good stories about her out there. Now with Harry Potter, it's very intentional. She takes it a step further. She doesn't just feed a feel-good story to the media that she's maybe out with her husband and kids, neither of which or none of them were mentioned in the stories. She goes to Harry Potter, and it's my belief that is very intentional. Ryan Reynolds leverages nostalgia marketing quite heavily in his own brand and with maximum effort. So nostalgia marketing is just like baked in with the Ryan Reynolds marketing psychology, and Blake Lively's kind of absorbed that from being around him. So the idea of nostalgia in these fluff pieces, in crisis PR, or even in branding, is the idea that you take the feel-good feelings that people have for that person or brand. So for example, Harry Potter in this situation. You take those feel-good feelings that someone has for Harry Potter, and the idea is, which it does work on the subconscious mind, you take someone like Blakey, she, is rubbing up against all the good juju of Harry Potter, the feel-good feelings of Harry Potter, and you hope some of that good juju is going to rub off on her. Now, of course, for those that are eyeballs deep in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni lawsuit drama and staying on top of everything, it's not going to work for you. But as I've said over and over until I was blue in the face in my commentary in regards to the Blake and Justin lawsuit, Blake and Ryan aren't trying to target Team Justin, Justice for Justin people. Like they know those people are not ever going to support them. So this kind of marketing and PR is for the rest of the public. It's for the public that might be seeing headlines, might be picking up little pieces here and there, and they are going to see her at the Harry Potter event. They're going to be like, oh, she's just like us. She's obsessed with Harry Potter too. Oh my goodness, that's so cool. I love Harry Potter. And you start to associate her name with something positive and feel good feelings you have. But again, for anyone watching or listening that is really following the case, it's important to keep in mind that this isn't targeted at you. They are both very aware that this is not going to work on justice for Justin people and those that are really following the case. They've written you guys off. Now, there's other ways that you can reputation launder. Number 2, I would say, is astroturfing. That's a term that's become really popular within this case. I never thought there'd be a day where things like PR, flooding the zone, and astroturfing would become popular, but here we are. So astroturfing creates the fake grassroots movement that seems to support a certain agenda or company, or in this case, I'm not saying she is astroturfing. I'm just saying this is another way you can do it. The community, which is fake, but it's meant to appear real, is positively boosting that company or individual, right? So in reality, the movement is created by said company or individual to form a positive public opinion on that person, even though it's a false agenda, but you're not supposed to realize it's a false agenda. Now, there's actually research recently done in Reddit that proves how effective this is. So if you have sock puppet accounts, or you have bots that go and say to something like Reddit or X, and they're posting in support of someone, and they're starting to go in the talking points that maybe challenge your views on something, there is research that it is proven to astroturfing to actually shift people's views. That's why it's done. I mean, it's looked down upon in PR, but that's why it's done. There's actual research. And there's actually a lot of controversy around this with the research that was done in Reddit, because no one knew. This university was just in there, can't remember what university it was, just like conducting this research and attempting successfully to sway people's opinions. And I can't remember the exact issue they're looking to sway people's opinions on off the top of my head. And it worked. But there's controversy because no one willingly signed up for the experiment. They just went in and did it. But astroturfing does work when you're seeing people that appear to be genuine, either trashing the other person or supporting one person. It does help with creating more of a positive public opinion, and it can absolutely sway the public's opinion. Another, number 3, way to reputation launder. And this is a tactic that can be used, but you're not going to hear about it because you'll have a legal firm threaten those that might make accusations or support someone. So you're only getting the positive out in the news. And when you have some corporation or individual, and again, I'm not saying Blake is doing any of these. I mean, I would say she's definitely doing the first one we talked about, the media and the fluff pieces and the nostalgia. I just want to give context on how else it can be done. So with this one, you have these corporations, public figures with really deep pockets, and they can essentially pay people off. Now, what you may also see, and there's been a lot of controversy around Blake Lively for this online, and it appears rightfully so, where maybe you're promising someone a role. You know, maybe Brandon Sklenar. You know, I'm going to connect you with Paul Feig. You know, he has a new movie coming out. I'll recommend you. That can also be a way to reputation launder. So you're getting people on your side. You're getting people to say positive things about you, but it's not actually organic. You're promising them something, or you're threatening someone with keeping their mouth shut. They need to keep their mouth shut. And finally, number 4, this is one we see a lot. It's one I've talked about in regards to Taylor Swift frequently. Ryan Reynolds does it, although I always say I will never go after him for his work with Sick Kids in Toronto, Ontario, Sick Kids Hospital, because he's been doing that work for 11 years. And he's been doing the Christmas fundraiser and running the Christmas fundraiser for many years now. And he's done a lot of great work. So I'll never pick on him for Sick Kids Hospital. However, he has not been above using philanthropy and donations to sick children to boost his public image and reputation launder. Again, Taylor Swift is really big on that one as well. But philanthropy is that valid effort, so they say, when a company gives back to the community through money, time, or donations. And the reality is they receive massive tax breaks and financial incentives to do that, as well as incredibly positive publicity. Celebrities can make donations without y'all figuring it out. They can make donations without their name on the GoFundMe. They can stop by events, stop by hospitals, stop by weddings without it becoming news. They can do that. It is possible. It happens all the time. Donations happen all the time that are not through their personal name. When it is done and ending up in headlines, it's for PR. It is for shifting the public narrative around them. And just keep your eye open. If you see a celebrity all of a sudden coming out with a big donation or stopping by all these hospitals, what's going on? Do they need the positive press? Keep your eye on that. Now, another way we're seeing Blake Lively, so it's not just in the media. And in fact, I would say this is all what's going on behind the scenes to support the media narrative that she's putting out there. She shifted her brand archetype from the royal or the ruler, you're going to hear it called both things, more frequently the ruler, to the Everywoman. Now, brand archetypes are branding psychology. They're incredibly powerful on the subconscious mind. And when she flips this fast in a crisis, research is showing that all it does is make you more suspicious. All it does is do the opposite. You're like, okay, girl, before you were this Met Gala princess and now you want me to believe that you're like baking cookies for the neighborhood? What's going on? What gives? And it just draws more often criticism or people wondering, is this actually legitimate? However, Blake has traditionally operated as the royal or the ruler archetype. Now, you can very clearly see the ruler brand archetype with Blake Lively. It has been glaringly obvious what brand archetype she's been operating from up until this point. She was a Met Gala princess. I mean, even I can admit, I'm not big into fashion, and I loved seeing Blake at the Met Gala. Those pictures I have here, especially the one that she turned it inside out and it was totally different color. It was that like teal, baby blue, and white. Honestly, my favorite dress ever. And I am confident enough that I can just say it. That was my favorite dress ever. I don't even like dresses, and I was obsessed. So she's had a very specific image, Hollywood royalty. She's had in images, and you can even see it here, traditionally, if she could control it, the camera was slightly below eye level. So she was always looking down with a slight tilt in her chin. Now, when she smiled, you'd either get kind of this smirk, or we can see it here, and I have another picture that shows it better on another slide, where even if she had a big smile, there was still like this, it's a smile because like, holy shit, I'm so fucking special. Not an innocent, relatable smile. Not a warming smile. It's definitely a ruler smile. And that ruler brand archetype works when the public worships you. You're associated with competence and elegance. So you will see, say, Catherine, Princess of Wales. She's associated with elegance. She's quite literally associated with royalty. So she is the ruler brand archetype. It's also going to work for you if there's like this distance to you where there's almost a mystique. Again, creating a brand around, don't you want to be like us? Like we're Hollywood royalty, like my husband's Deadpool, that kind of energy. We are kind of above you. And when you have someone like Catherine, Princess of Wales, even Mariah Carey would be the ruler brand archetype. Mariah Carey's like, yeah, okay, I can see it. You go around and you be your bad self because you're so competent. You are so good at what you do. You're allowed to be like that. And people love them regardless. But especially when you have a crisis and you've already kind of just been there. I mean, her claim to fame was Gossip Girl. I don't think she's had a lot that have been big hits. I mean, the reality is, and I don't know if this was her choice or not, but she was having babies and prioritizing family, whether her choice or not, rather than growing her career. So she was most known for Gossip Girl. And when it's, oh my gosh, how many years ago now? I don't even know. Probably over 20 years ago that it happened. That starts to rub off in a crisis. And you really don't have that, but look how competent I am. So you can kind of make allowances for me. It's just gone. It's not there anymore. Now this shift to the Everywoman, and this is something I've spoken about a lot with Blake Lively, is an attempt to be more relatable. Taylor Swift is the Everywoman. Now, I do not believe for a second Taylor Swift is the Everywoman in her day-to-day life. I have had public figures reach out to me and be like, girl, you misread Taylor. She's not the Everywoman brand archetype. And I'm like, no, I understand. I'm not saying she herself is. Her brand has been constructed around the Everywoman brand archetype. The Everywoman brand archetype is that girl next door type energy. They're safer when controversy hits because they're more relatable. And it's like, okay, we all fall down, we all mess up, it's all right. And also, they build such a strong community and parasocial community that the fan base itself and the community itself tends to protect that Everywoman brand archetype from the blowback from controversy. Now, one of the things I've noticed with Blake as very problematic for her brand as well is who she's around. She tends to absorb their brand archetype and their identity. So when she's around her husband, you can see her try to be funny like him, but it's just not who she is. And that girl, it's okay. You don't have to be funny. Not everyone's funny. And a lot of people would argue Ryan's not even funny, but people laugh, and he's been very successful being the Joker. So, or the jester brand archetype. So she's kind of wanted to pick that up. And then other times she's picked up that Everywoman brand archetype from Taylor Swift. And I do believe that whether it's lack of confidence in herself or just lack of identity, she does tend to absorb the identities of those she's around. However, it's all been through the lens of the ruler brand archetype, still that Hollywood royalty. But now she's just like jumped off the deep end into, but I'm so relatable. I love Harry Potter too. I go shopping with my family too. I bring my kids to, their horseback riding lessons too. And jumping from the ruler to the Everywoman is a bold choice. Bold choice, Cotton. Let's see how this plays out. It's a very bold choice any day of the week. But especially when you have maybe not been the most liked person overall throughout your career. Not really a great choice when there's a history of, potential racism, where there's a history of being rude to people. Trying to flip it in a crisis just makes it glaringly obvious what you're doing, and I don't recommend it. So this is an example here of even the picture shift previously in her brand to now. So we can see that picture at the Met Gala with Ryan. It's like it's a ruler. She even has, I think it's like a little tiara on. Very much the ruler brand archetype. That hand on her hip. Funny enough, I just saw a video of her at an event. I think it was on Monday. And she went back to both hands on her hips for a picture, and she dropped her hands very quick. That's Blake ruler, like that chin up, kind of looking down at the camera with her hands on her hips. But she dropped that right away. I think it was just muscle memory. And she's like, oh shit, nope, we're not doing that right now. But you can see that there, right? So the hand on the hip, her chin is lifted and she's looking down at the camera slightly below her, shoulders back and down, very ruler-esque image. And then this image that she has from the Harry Potter on Broadway event, she's kind of leaning forward. Her shoulders are rolled forward. She's kind of demure. And the smile is a big one that shifted. And we're going to talk more about that, but I just want you to keep an eye on that because the smile has shifted. And I like this example here for the smile. And I have another great example later because it's not that she's never smiled before. And I don't want anyone to think that like I'm accusing her of never having smiled before. And now I'm saying that all of a sudden she's smiling. The smile's different. Even when she had a big smile, it was very different. And there's psychology to this, so we will go over it. This is also some of the branding shifts that we're seeing within her brand. Betty Buzz. So if we look at the old branding for Blake and Betty Buzz, again, you can see the camera is below eye level. It's very obvious in all of her branding. You are hard pressed to find images where the camera is above her before this controversy. So a lot of dark colors, dark moody lighting, really intense look on her face. Those are for, I think, Betty Booz or Betty Buzz, one or the other. And then on the right, we have images that have come out this past summer. The top one is Betty Booz or Betty Buzz. I don't know which one. But the top one is that now you can see the shift in colors. She's no longer doing the blacks, the dark moody colors. It's really light. The light is behind her, which is kind of highlighting her, making her look angelic, especially around her head. You can see the light in her hair. So her hair is really bright. She has this big smile. And again, just keep an eye on that. We're going to address that in a minute. colors, light vibes. This is trying to communicate, I am not threatening. Who, me? I would never do what I'm being accused of doing. I would never falsely accuse someone. Not me. You can't really get away with that as much with all the black and the moody lighting. And then we have an image with her sister that she posted on Instagram stories. Again, she's holding the camera high up and she's got like that full face smile with the squinted eyes. And that's all intentional. It's acting at the end of the day. And we have another example here to show the shift in her branding. I picked this picture intentionally. I wanted a picture before the big time controversy and after that shows her more relaxed in her house. So I think the one on the left is that blue jeans baby thing that somehow made it into the court documents. But you have her there. Again, you can see the camera's below eye level. She's looking down. She's got the shoulders back, a slight smile on her face, but it's still very much that ruler vibe. And then we have on the right-hand side, we have the cameras looking down, which is giving that like, I'm not a threat, innocent energy. The camera's very much looking down. She looks very petite. She almost looks like 12 years old in this picture. And it's intentionally set where she's holding this massive flower arrangement, which makes her look even smaller. She's taking up, it appears, even less space. And she has that exact smile, that childlike smile. The hair is just pulled back in a pony. She's in casual clothes. Again, it's giving off a completely different vibe. But let's talk about that shift in smile a little bit more, because this is where it can get overlooked on how important just a smile is in branding, but it's pretty important. So this shift in smile is called warmth signaling. Here's a picture here. I wanted to get a picture of her like full face smiling before the controversy. That picture where it's like a legit smile, that's at the Met Gala. Again, my favorite dress ever that I think I've ever seen. But you could see the difference, right? Like it is a full face smile, but it's like a commanding smile. Like I fucking rule smile. Like I am owning the room. I am the Met Gala princess smile. That is the vibe. It's not innocent. It's not necessarily warm. It's I'm owning the room. And then we look at the picture from the Harry Potter event. And again, totally different. So this one is called warmth signaling. When it's genuine, both the person smiling and the person observing the smile experience a release of feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which can lower stress, lower heart rate, and make you like that person more. That's a submission signal as well in social behavior. So it's again that like childlike smile. Please don't attack me. I'm harmless. I'm innocent, because it's got that just childlike wonder smile. Now, when it's not organic, you are the target to feel good and associate her with these positive emotions and seeing her as like innocent and harmless and like you. But this is performed relatability. It's not fake vulnerability. I would say it's 100% performed relatability. Again, very similar to how they use nostalgia marketing, in my opinion. It's intentionally created and done to speak, kind of like bypass the mind, our thinking mind, and hit the subconscious mind. And research does say that works. So it is crisis choreography. Now, what Blake is doing is a crisis rebuild. Phase one, she had the fall from grace. Phase two, humanize her. The relatable smiles, the imperfect images, messy hair up in a ponytail, it's not polished, childlike expressions, much lighter colors, the camera in a different position, so it's above her rather than below her, with lighting behind her to illuminate her in terms of like kind of like an angelic glow. Phase three is the redemption arc. So finding herself, focusing on family, reconnecting to simplicity, doing normal mom things. I feel like she's starting to shift to phase three. One of the things I did notice, and I hate to be that person pointing this out, but one of the things I did notice is that she has been under fire for a racist past. Let's just put it blunt. Her wedding on a plantation, was it her clothing line or her blog, whatever it was? Like, I don't follow her enough, but we have such a history that stacks up against her to have a questionable relationship with anyone that is not white. Even when you look at this case and her experience with Jamie Heath, she wasn't mad because he was looking at her boobs or looking inappropriately at her. She said he looked me in the eyes. So she's had a very questionable past. And so I do wonder, is it intentional PR to have her with a Black woman in these pictures that she has put out? And I hate to be that person, but it's hard to miss. And it's the reason why it caught my attention is in the top picture, she's kind of on the outskirts of the image. So you would think when they take the picture, potentially she would be on the end, on our left, but it would be, yeah, her left as well. But she scoots into the middle. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It just makes me go, all right, interesting. Now, phase 4 is re-entry to power. I don't think she's going to hold on to this Everywoman brand archetype for long. It's all a sham. It's all for show. I do think she's going to take a softer approach trying to re-enter. I just don't think it's going to stay this soft. So those comeback interviews, the brand campaigns, like she's going to go a lot harder on that. That's something that you would really see after the trial where she's like doing her comeback interviews and finally being able to tell her story, right? I think she even alluded to that Time 100 where she says, you know, my story is another time or another place isn't the appropriate place. She puts it something like that, already alluding at that point that one day you will hear my side of what happened. Now, can you do a rebrand? Hell yeah, you can. You can rebrand. I help a lot of clients with it. I love even rebranding myself because the reality is you're always growing. And when you have a personal brand, which is what a celebrity is, one of the fun things is allowing your brand to grow with you. So a rebrand done really well in recent years is Pamela Anderson. Now, number one, she stepped out of the spotlight long enough for the public to reset their story about her. If I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot about her until she came out with, was it a book and a documentary? Until she came out with that stuff, I had totally forgot about her. And Pam, for those that are older, I mean, she's one of the OG bombshells. I know her from, well, Home Improvement, obviously, but also Baywatch, right? She was a bombshell. And she disappeared, likely very deliberately, kind of lived a quiet farm life for years. There was no algorithmic pandering. There was no overly curated daily updates. There were no pap walks, nothing like that. Like, she disappeared. She didn't try to soften her image while the old narrative was still alive. She let it reset. And that's one of the things I'd said about Blake, which in the beginning I said she should have just gone away for a bit. She should have just stepped away. One of the best things for the ruler brand archetype is just step away. Just go away for a bit. Don't try a rebrand in the middle of a crisis when people can see through the rebrand. It's just not a good time. But she didn't. She just pushed harder. She started flooding the zone around the marketing of Another Simple Favor, which she had a lot of missteps with that as well, because she's wearing a lot of black and like leather. It was just really bad. Funny enough, I had criticized her for that, and her next appearance was in white. But anyway, Pam has done it really well. She actually re-entered the public through story and through taking control of the narrative. Now, one of the things I've heard is, well, no, it's all on purpose, her brand. Well, of course it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's not on purpose. She is very intelligent to leverage that niche that she has and do it through a story that's relatable, a story that's true for her. I'm not saying that it's not an intentional rebrand or it wasn't done purposefully. Of course it was done purposefully. It still was emerging through story, so it felt really organic. Her documentary wasn't a PR stunt. It was narrative reclamation, and she framed it as such. She said, here's the truth you never saw. Here's the pain, the growth, the time away, who I am, and how I want to be seen now. So we weren't looking at it as, well, you had a big crisis and now you don't want to be seen like this anymore, so you're trying to be seen like that. It was like, oh, okay, we all grow. We all go through hard times. That was relatable for all of us. She brought us into her world. Blake is trying to pull us along. She's trying to force us along, which reads like emotional manipulation and choreography, not genuine vulnerability or growth. She's doing it because she's in a crisis and she doesn't want to be in a crisis. I genuinely think Blake does not like the idea of people not liking her. And I imagine when you've been at that level of stardom and grew up in a Hollywood type family, your entire life has probably been people pandering to you and telling you how amazing you are. And then you marry Ryan Reynolds, who's one of the biggest Hollywood stars, and it probably continued. And Gossip Girl was one of the biggest shows of that time. So with coming back to Pam, her rebrand followed a coherent arc. Blake's hasn't. So phase 1, disappear, neutralization. She allowed the old kind of caricature brand to die quietly. Phase 2, reappear with truth. So she recontextualized who she is, and she put out projects that reframed her and her story. And then phase 3, she returned with authentic simplicity, this reinvention, the no makeup, the more natural hair, the bare face campaigns, quiet presence, soft grounded interviews. Like totally rebrand. She looks beautiful. I love her rebrand. Like, I think she did such a phenomenal job. The only misstep I will say is the very obvious PR stunt, fake relationship with Liam Neeson, and that wasn't cool. And that had the potential to be a massive backlash, but her and Liam handled it so well that it didn't really turn into anything. It kind of fizzled out. All right, my friends, that's what I have for you today. That is Blake Lively's rebrand that she's going through. Just start to watch. Just start to watch what comes out, how her branding's different, how the images are different. It's all choreography. And I'm really interested to see when she officially shifts into phase 3. It feels like she's really starting to dip her toes into it. And I'm really interested to see if there ends up being some kind of settlement out of this. I feel like Justin, it would have to be one hell of a settlement for him to be okay with it. But it's just interesting. It feels like things have sped up a little bit with her and her PR crisis campaign. All right, my friends, let me know what you think. I do have a second YouTube channel, which is focused solely on business, astrology, BG5, and branding. So I'll drop the link for that in the show notes. If you are a personal brand, it's not pop culture focused. So if you're a personal brand, you want to follow me over there, I'll put the link in the show notes. If you are a personal brand, grab your 90-day PR playbook. Everybody needs PR. I don't care how big, how small, how long you've been a brand, everyone needs PR. And if you're looking for individualized support, I do have 2 offers right now. The Profit Potential Breakthrough Sessions, which is a 2-hour session. And I also have brand VIP days. So I will drop those links for you. If you are called into any of those, let me know. We can book you in. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.